What's up, everybody, and welcome to the iReach podcast. I'm your host, Paul Robinson, founder and CEO of ConstructReach, a national consultancy and initiative that aims to diversify the construction, design, and innovation industries and empower a younger generation. We are here merging education, industry, and culture with a variety of featured guests that you do not want to miss. So let's go. iReach. What is up, everybody? We are back with another episode of the iReach podcast. Hoping that you are enjoying this season as we are in season 2 now. We've got an amazing guest on, Keith Brown. Keith, what's up, man? How you doing?
Paul, what's good, man? I know we had a connection issue before. This is much better. Happy to be here. It's a beautiful day, and you look like you have tons of energy right now. So let's get to it.
Always, man. Always super excited to just hear amazing stories, man. Because there's so many different pathways into where people are in terms of their career, in terms of construction, man. And so let's just kick it off right there, man. Tell me your journey. How did you get into this industry? How did we get into this space that you're in now, man? And just kind of starting from those formative years, how you got introduced to it, and then what you're currently doing.
So graduating high school, I was always interested in both business and drawing and things of that nature. So I didn't kind of know what my path would be. So I applied to Howard University and actually got accepted into the School of B, they call it there, in Washington, D.C., School of Business. And then after I got accepted a few months later, I had some second thoughts and had to change my paperwork around to the School of Architecture. So got into the architecture program, did 5 years there. Coming out of school, my 5th year, it's a 5-year program. During that 5th year, I just started hearing inklings after doing some research that, you can't really make that much money in architecture. And, or you start out or you sit in front of a computer back in that day before you youngins, we had the drafting table with the T-square and the triangles before CAD,
That's what real skills are, man.
Real skills. Yeah, you had to put arduous hours into the details and things. And I was just like, that's not something I feel like I wanted to do anyway. So I was like, how can I get into more of the business side? So a friend of mine, after graduation, I worked as an assistant superintendent for a church project in Fort Washington, Maryland. I kind of liked being out in the field with the guys outside of the cigarette smoke and a couple of other negative things. But, you got to see the real work being done in construction, not just sitting behind a desk and drawing. Then I got a call about a year. I did that for a year, and I got a call from a buddy of mine who had moved to Atlanta. He was in the Georgia Institute of Technology. They were looking for more diversity, put it that way. They weren't graduating the amount of women, African Americans, Asians, etc., with master's degrees. So they actually put out the word nationwide that they were looking for more people to enroll in their program. So a buddy of mine who graduated with me into Howard thought I'd be good for the program. I had a couple calls with Georgia Tech. It went well, and moved to Atlanta, decided to get my master's degree, master of science degree. From their civil engineering program. And it's a 2-year fit. And I was kind of influenced by my mom. She got her master's degree back in the day, back in the 70s, when many people, in our community weren't even getting college degrees. My mom was getting a master's degree. And I thought also brand wise, Howard University is one of the top, quote unquote, African-American brands globally. The Howard University. As well as Spelman and Morehouse, and shout out to all those others, and A&T and FAMU, all these. Yeah. So, however, I wanted to have that additional Georgia Tech PWI on top of that to be the icing on the cake. So I thought that would help me marketing wise in the job market. And so it was like a year and a half program. Finished that up and took a job out of got recruited by a company called Brown and Root in Houston, Texas. Went to Houston, had never been there before. My wife and I lived there a couple of years, and it was just, nothing against Houston. It was just too hot. I'm an East Coast guy. So I like Atlanta, DC, New York, Philly, where when you're in a city, there's a diverse group of people. mostly everybody in Houston was from Houston or from Texas, So did that for a couple years, and then after that, man, just started researching opportunities back in New York, New Jersey area, and my career just started taking off from there. Got into construction scheduling. It's always good to have a niche, so I got into the Primavera, P3, P6, things of that nature. Created a little niche for myself experience wise as I learned about the entire construction project management type realm.
Mm. No, that's good, man. Very good story. Well educated, man. So kudos to you, and just sharing the importance, of, because I heard a couple of things in there, man, that were very important. For one, knowing the field or the sector that you wanted to go into in high school, that's pretty rare, actually. That's one of the things that we try to introduce, man, to a younger demographic. That's why we try to get into high schools, man, because we want these budding young adults, as they're transitioning into what we call like the first major intersection of life, man. Once you're transitioning out of high school and you are going into the real world, you're kind of back at the bottom of the S curve, trying to find yourself, man. And
yeah, it's a big decision for a 17, 18-year-old.
yeah, absolutely, man. Not only internally, but externally as well, because they're expected, to make these informed decisions, to make wise decisions going into young adulthood. And they're trying to do that as well. And so you have those forces, man, kind of externally and internally as well, which makes it a critical time in life. And so to have that understanding of just the sector, not necessarily the exact job that you want to have, but just even knowing the sector that you want to be in and connecting that with the passion, with the skill set, with interest. I mean, that's huge, man, because having an interest in business, having an interest in drawing, I think even speaking to those two things and then to connect them with where you are now is huge. And hopefully it's informative for any young person that's listening to this, man, because a lot of times construction is just reduced to what you see. And a lot of times what you see is just a lot of the road work that's taking place, nothing bad about that. But if that's all you think that there is to construction, which is just a hard hat, a nail and a hammer, or the people who work on the roads that cause you to have to go on a detour, right, and make your trip longer, then you're really missing out on the full array of different career opportunities that exist. And also you're missing out on the ability to connect what you have an interest in with that sector. I mean, man, that's just, it's good that you got a chance to expound on that, man, because those were the things that I picked up just from hearing your story. Another one was, man, just with your mom's, being very educated, getting to that level. You said back in the 70s, was that right?
Yep. Early
Yeah.
80s, 81, 79, around that era. Yep, around that time.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's huge as well. With having somebody in your family, having your mom to be able to set that bar, to set that example, to be that model, and how influential parents can be, with shaping kind of our career journey, our aspirations, and what we expect from ourselves, man. I think those are huge. And even if it's not your mom's, what I'm saying, like other people who are influential in your life or around your life, that are doing some things that's worthy of aspiring to be like, I think those things are important, man, to kind of have people that are doing things that, inspire you and aspire you to do more.
I agree. It was a great example for me. And like you said, it doesn't have to be a parent. It could be an uncle, aunt, or somebody in your community that you can hopefully tap into and say, oh, if she or he can do that, I can do that as well. And, a lot of times in our community, unfortunately, advanced degrees or speaking well is looked down upon. That's not cool. And some, why are you talking white, or why are you, what are you going to do with that master's degree? So I thought my mom was beautiful. I thought she was cool. So I was like, if my mom can do that and, she's cool, I think I could do that as well. So, I thought there was some value in it.
Yeah, man, you know what, that just saying that, it brings to the forefront, something else that we like to mention over and over again, man, which is very true. is that representation like matters, especially within this industry, man, that needs more diversity. If you can see yourself being represented within this industry, then you can see yourself being in this industry. And it made me think about that because you saw, regardless of what the external narrative was about what higher education looks like and how it's perceived, within the Black community or what have you, it's like your mother doing that. You could actually see yourself doing that because you can identify with her. That's your mom's, you know what I'm saying? And so that spoke volumes to you, that impacted you, and it actually was amplified. That narrative was amplified more than what was the external narrative, right? And so that's important, man. And I think that's an important correlation to just trying to diversify this industry. And that's why we do this. That's why I wanted to have you on, man, so that your accomplishments, your career journey, your track, your education can be, in your perspective, actually, man, can be a source of inspiration for others, man, that say, you know what? Yeah, I can identify with this brother, man. He looks like me. He comes from where I come from. He's lived in the city where I lived in, you know what I'm saying, or what have you. He talks like me, right? Like, hey, I can kind of see myself within him in the sector that I did not foresee for myself, but maybe that's a possibility for me now. And I think that's very inspirational, man.
Man, you're very well spoken. I mean, this is our first time speaking. And honestly, I can say I'm already impressed by you, what I'm hearing coming out of your mouth, your questions, your dialect, how you, rephrase things and put things into biteable, chewable packages for your audience, man. I'm really impressed. I still don't know how you guys found me. And, but it sounds like you guys are doing
ways. We have some ways.
Sound like you guys are doing a good thing for the people, man. So that's a blessing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. No, thank you for that as well. It's just what we try to find, man. What we try to be intentional about is people who are doing something that's worth amplifying. And we live in a society, man, where there's a lot of other things that get amplified, that if you follow that, don't necessarily put people in the best position to succeed or feel fulfilled. And there's a ton of us, man. There's a ton of people just like yourself, man, who are doing some amazing things, and we just try to amplify that, man, and put a platform underneath that, and allow others to glean from it,
I think it's needed. I had a couple of, I filmed a couple of test runs on some podcasts with a couple of buddies of mine, and we put it out on YouTube, but we had some, technical difficulties, behind the scene, but it's similar to what you're just saying. Cause honestly, Paul, you're saying I'm doing some amazing things, man. I'm just a father of 4, married. I look at it as I'm just trying to feed my kids, man. I'm just trying to win out here. There's such an array of things out here to keep you from doing well or succeeding, or every day there's something coming at you, health issues, family issues. I don't want to turn it negative, but dealing with a negative boss, or someone that doesn't believe in you at your company. So there's so many issues. For you to say that I'm doing something amazing, man, I appreciate that. But honestly, I look at it as me just paying my bills. But I do love the fact that you're looking at what I may call the common man, the common woman, the regular person, and giving light to those folks instead of, nothing against them, the athletes, the actors, and, what's constantly just pushed upon us. So I think that's a great deal.
Yeah, man. No, I think you do people a disservice when you overemphasize, and I'm not the one that's gonna say give me less sports, because I love my sports. You know what I'm saying? But I think when you think about the totality of life, man, and when you think about all of the different gifts, all of the different, passions or what have you, you do people a disservice to reduce things down to just a handful of things that you only highlight. You know what I'm saying? Because if that's all that gets celebrated, when there's so many different pathways to success, then now we don't even get a chance to edify those things, speak life into people, man, and put them in an environment that cultivates the untapped potential that they do have. And then it could cause people, it has the potential to cause people to belittle what they are actually gifted in, man, because they don't do what gets celebrated in society. You know what I'm saying? And so we just try to add a little bit more options, man,
It's a
into
beautiful thing.
yeah, absolutely, man. So nah, I mean that's what we try to do here. Um, and so as you talk about your career, man, and I'm sure, with reaching where you are now and still climbing, man, I want to look at two things, right? So you can let me know which side you want to end on, because we go swing this pendulum, man, from one end of the spectrum to the next. I'm gonna ask you two questions. What's
Mhm.
been your most challenging moment, or what's the most challenging within your sector? And then what's been the proudest moment? You know what I'm saying? So you wanna end on a good note, or you wanna end on the which one you want to start with?
uh, I think my most challenging moment, uh, and that moment is not just a moment. It's not just a month. It's just not a year.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
it's could be decades. I'm 53 now. It could be years. But I think the most challenging moment or item I guess I've had to deal with is the fact that I just don't feel that African American men, women of all races, uh, people of color in general, still in 2023, and it could have been 93, 2003, 2013, uh, get the same amount of responsibilities and tasks allotted to them when they come out of college than our counterparts. Uh, so I see, you can see just a quick example, and I'm not going to drag it on. Uh, you know, there may be a $10 million project. Coming out of college, you go to a company, you would see more opportunities for non people of color to, whether when they're 24, 25, 26, to be project managers for these $10 million, $5 million projects. When, I noticed, this is my personal observations and working at several companies over the years,
Mm-hmm.
you see young African Americans coming out and we're either a project engineer or assistants at 25, 26, 27, 30, 35. I'm like, why am I still an assistant? Or why am I still just an engineer? Why haven't I been given that project manager title yet? It's so I don't know if it's I'm not going to call it racism. I don't know if it's a lack of trust or a lack of familiarity, or it's because our dialects or how we speak is I don't know, different. So that was just one of the, I think, challenges that I think, and that's not only in construction. That's what I've talked to my colleagues in other fields. They've come across the same thing, and it's also like you hear about the person that trains the younger person, and then the younger person becomes their boss type thing, or so that's one thing I observed challenge wise. But I guess one of the things I'm really most excited about, or that I found one of my biggest accomplishments, was on the flip side of that, uh, uh, going up against, I think, my boss at that time. Shout out to Glenn Gard at Porsche Cars North America. Porsche was building a $50 million, doing a $50 million renovation of one of their dealerships, flagship dealerships in Manhattan. It's Manhattan Motor Cars now. Shout out to Brian, the owner there too. So I live in Atlanta, but I'm from New Jersey. Worked in New York City at several companies up there, and Porsche Cars North America, headquartered in Atlanta, interviewed me. And again, my boss at the time told me there was a ton of candidates and they chose me. This was about 7, 8 years ago to be the project manager to manage that renovation, $45, $50 million project out of all the folks. And this is Porsche Cars North America, but the leadership is in the company. The CEO is from Germany. They rotate their CEOs from Porsche AG in Stuttgart to Porsche Cars North America here. CEO was German. The CFO, Chief Financial Officer, Thierry, was from France. So there's a lot of diversity nationwide at Porsche. They really respect diversity from different nations. But what I found is being there, they also respect diversity with ethnicities as well. So you had African Americans, you had people from Turkey, you had a lot of Hispanics as well, Latinos, whatever the correct words are today. So once I got in there, you would think that a Porsche, top engineering firm is just going to be lily white, you would say, or just German, all German. But they gave me the opportunity, and they said when they hired me, my boss said, I think it was a 3 or 4 year contract. At the end, when we completed the job, he said, I hired you, right? And I was like, no. He was like, well, I thought you presented yourself well. You obviously had the experience. You had the certifications, the training, the degrees, but you were also from the Northeast. And we felt like being here in Atlanta and you traveling up to New York City, we needed someone to be able to handle what they thought in their mind was that kind of New York, construction team and, push back, and someone that, would actually be not a tough guy, but someone that would be able to understand how to deal with the different ethnicities in New York. And if you're familiar with New York construction, the Italians are involved in certain trades, the Irish, the Hispanics. So I thought that was very smart of them on their part to do a quote unquote DIE hire, what they call it these days, to deal with DIE for them as an internal rep for them up in New York City. So I thought that was cool. That was a big accomplishment, huge product. I got a discount on driving a Panamera for a couple of years. So that was cool. So I think that was a real cool project, a real cool company to work with. It was a big accomplishment for me. And like they said, if you can work on a construction project or in any business in New York City, you could do it anywhere across the globe.
No, man, that's good. I mean, two good examples, man, of the challenging aspect, and you hit the nail right on the head, man. Like, no pun intended, but you were spot on with saying, it wasn't just a moment, it's not just a season, it's not just a decade. That has been a long-standing area of opportunity, man, that just really is at the foundation of our society, of our nation.
It has you questioning, Paul, not to cut you off. It has you questioning as a grown man or a woman as well. You're like, damn, am I not good enough?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do I need to get another degree? How long do I have to when am I going to get that same opportunity, basically?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, man. It's I mean, we could go on and on. I mean,
Yep,
we
it
can go
feels
the whole
good.
season about
Yeah.
just that topic alone, man, because it plays on your psyche so much. Like if you
Yes.
don't look like this, you know what I'm saying? And if you're not a person of color, you have no idea, the toll
Yeah.
that it takes on you mentally and how much it weighs on you. Because at the end of the day, I mean, the answer is no, and it's no, you know what I'm saying? But it still doesn't stop, you from asking yourself or playing out these different scenarios in your mind, man. And
Yeah,
going
like if I would
through.
have did this, maybe I should have did that. Maybe I
Yeah.
should have done that. And and it's like you're coming across all these things to try to figure out that puzzle of why you're not where you think you ought to be.
Hmm.
And it's,
Yeah. No, I tell you, man. Yeah, I mean you preaching to the choir here. I get it. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? And hopefully whoever is listening, if you don't come from that community, if you're not a minority, you know what I'm saying? Like you have to understand that, and take a hard look in the mirror and ask yourself, do you have these unconscious biases? Are there times as an employer where, hey, you've had somebody that is, a person of color or a female coming into your company, they have the qualifications, during the interview process, you can tell that they were competent, but still, you did not entrust them with what they had the capacity to be entrusted with, and you got to ask yourself, why is that? And why did I do that? Or how did they end up training somebody younger than them? And then now the trajectory of their career has superseded that person. Like what happened? You know what I'm saying? Like, cause it happens too much.
Yeah. And quickly to just piggyback on that, not to beat it in the ground. When I went to New York for that Porsche project, one of the project managers up there, one of our consultants, was at another company, real nice guy. He was only now I'm not gonna say only because respect to our veterans, but he was a military veteran, no college degree, but had a lot of experience, which is old school. Back in the day, a lot of the people in not the Gen X, I'm Gen X, but the baby boomer generation, a lot of them didn't have all these degrees, but they had the experience. But we got to talking one time for lunch, and he was, I had my master's degree. I had my PMP, project management professional certification. I had this, I had that, us African Americans, we're going to try to check them boxes. So if you tell us no, it's got to be for another reason, because we're checking all the boxes. Right. I got experience. I got your certifications. I got your degrees, this and that. And I'm up there having lunch with them.
We need the vet to know.
We need the vet to know. I like that. And then, but I'll go out to lunch with this guy a couple of times. He's taking me out to lunch to all these nice steak places up there. And like, I'm a vegan. So he's laughing at me, cracking at me as to why I don't eat meat. But he goes, Keith, and I'll try not to curse. He's like, I don't know why you got all those effing, certifications and all that. This guy's making $300,000, $275,000 a year as a project manager. And, like, he's like, I think all that's bull. Like, I see you people walking around with these PMPs and degrees, and you come out to the construction field and you don't know shit. And I'm like, well, I know those people. I know people like that as well. But, that's not me. And he goes, yeah, I'm not talking about you. But he was just like, but after I left that conversation, man, it really just had me thinking, like, I'm over here trying to get all these certifications. And, people at my company at that time were, prior to at Porsche, were pushing getting the lead certification, sustainability, and, get your lead, get your PMP, get your PMGP, get to, and you're, oh yeah, if I get that, and you got, at the end of the day, you're looking around and you get a few of these, I forgot what they used to, all these acronyms behind your name, and you're on LinkedIn, and oh yeah, at the end of the day, man, and I'm older now, but when you're 20s and 30s, you feel like you need that because you want to be marketable. Yeah. But at the end of the day, man, if you don't have the experience, these companies don't give a about all these certifications and stuff. And if you can't present yourself well and communicate well, you could be certified up the wazoo or have these degrees, but if you're not a representation of what they want you to be on their projects, when you step out of that office, you represent that brand. So if you don't look a certain way, dress wise or speak wise or nationality wise, if they're just not comfortable with you, unfortunately, you're just not going to get the opportunity.
Yeah, man. No, that's the hard reality that a lot of us do face, man, in this society. I think, as you start to see, which is pretty much the inevitable, and that is, the complexion and the diversity of our society, this nation, this country changing and shifting. And it's growing and more diverse, and that's just only going to continue. You from an employer perspective, you have to say, okay, well, as I look to a sustainability aspect, I have to realize that in order for me to still be here tomorrow, quote unquote, things are going to have to change within my company, and the makeup of my company, I know, cannot continue to just be one-sided, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And but you have to be healthy enough to receive, a different demographic as well.
You're
They have
so
to they have
you're
to
so
be able to thrive, and they have to feel like they have a place, and they have to have an upward trajectory, and they have to have, leaders who want to see them and allow them to thrive. And so it's interesting, man, like where we are right now, because this conversation now is not on the fringes anymore. Like it is in the intersection of life. You've got time working up in New York. It is like a Times Square conversation, and you have to, as an employer, you have to determine, okay, well, which side am I going to be on? Do I see the writing on the wall? Do I want to leave a legacy? Do I want to be known as a company, that was able to make that shift for the betterment of all? Or, did I want to remain the same? And so people are wrestling with that,
yeah,
because
yeah.
change is not change until you change, and change isn't always comfortable. Um, and so I know it's not easy, because we all deal with the aspect of change, because that's the only constant in life. So
Mm-hmm.
we all have to deal with the discomfort and the unknown aspect of change, and the questioning, and the re-questioning, and playing out these hypotheticals in our mind. Regardless of what we're dealing with, we all have to deal with it, just with life, because that's the only constant. And so I know it's not easy, and you have owners, man, who are leaning into that, and they're being vulnerable. They're leading in vulnerability, where they're seeking knowledge outside of their own minds, which is, I think, is good. But then you have others where, since it hasn't hit the bottom line yet, they think that they're good. And
Yes.
so it's
Yes.
it's it's an interesting time, man, that we find ourselves in. Um,
I
and we
agree.
just try to, you know, speak in such a way that informs people, and raising their awareness, and then allowing them to make an informed decision about where they want to go, and where they want to end up in the company, that in the legacy that they're trying to build, if any. And so yeah, it's interesting, man. But that leads me into two things. So
Mm-hmm.
for one,
Mm-hmm.
I want to say, I want to pause right here and say, for our audience, if you guys like what you were hearing, I mean, a conversation, a very candid conversation, then please share, subscribe. We do this iReach podcast to reach you where you are, to introduce different stories, to talk about the different career pathways that exist, but then also as an informative way. You know what I'm saying? So that we can begin to move toward a future that we're all proud of. And so if you want to hear more guests like Keith, we need to grow, right? And so we need your support. We need you to follow us. And so wanted to pause and say that, man. But I also want to bring in, this new aspect that we're doing here that started in season 2, which is called our community insights. So we've got an app, we've got our ConstructReach community, and we've got a question that we pose out to the community. We get a chance to hear their responses, but we also get a chance to hear our guest response as well. And so what I want to do right here in this session, Keith, is pose a question to you. I'll share a response that we got from our community, and then I will let you give an answer. Is that cool? Okay. So question is, what career highlight are you most proud of? Okay, so that's the question. We posed this out to our community. One of the responses we got back from just one of our Target team members, they said this, and shout out to Target too, man. I mean, that's a company that, they are they are always kind of on the cutting edge, man, of trying to, be a place where you love to work. But this is what one of the team members said there. It says, to that question, right? What career highlight are you most proud of? We had a team member named Sean. He said this: helping to build a diverse and talented team of property managers in 70 Target stores, and creating a brand and joy every day, right? So being able to put others in a position to where they could reach their potential, right? And pouring into others is essentially Sean's most proudest career highlight, right? Not about himself, but about the advancement of others, right? So, what about you, man?
I can't top that. That's awesome. I love the way he shifted it off of himself. I mean, that is a beautiful thing. I mean, again, I've been working since I was 19, 20, interning, since I was at undergrad at Howard up until this point, trying to take care of my family. So I would think it's two things. And I started off the call with that. One is just being consistent, because showing up is half the battle. So being consistent with showing up to all the different companies and jobs that I have had over the years, whether the work was in the field, in the construction trailer, in the office, whether it was in Houston, Atlanta, New York, New Jersey. I feel that just looking back at my stage, just being consistent and showing up, and taking care of my family, this career or this field has allowed me to put a couple of kids in college, to raise my children in safer environments with better schools. So I would think that would be honestly my biggest accomplishment. It's made me a better dad. It's made me a better man. And I think secondly, though, I do have that was my 1A. My 1B would be currently I work for, and we're talking about DEI or DIE. I'm not sure what the acronym is correct, diversity. But I'm currently working, this is just coming up on my second year anniversary at a company here in Atlanta. It's the largest African-American female-owned construction company. So I think that's outstanding. I've worked at the large company. What was the name? What was that?
What company is that?
Webb Myers Construction. And Chandra Webster Myers is the owner. You guys can Google her later. She used to work at H.J. Russell, which is a big familiar name in the construction business in Georgia and nationwide. And we used to meet at these Circle of Trust meetups in Atlanta. Architects, GCs, developers. Keith Mack kind of used to do these things. He still does them, but I don't attend them as much as I've gotten older. But so I met her about 10 years ago. That's my 1B, kind of working for a female owned construction business, African-American female owned. So I think that's great. And she's all about, as you mentioned, the other gentleman said, looking out for others and always trying to provide opportunities for young women to get into the construction business. Young men who are African-American men who aren't successful, who are finding roadblocks in other fields, and women as well. We just hired a woman who was now an assistant project manager. She was in the paralegal field, in the legal field, and she thought that she would be great. So she's always identifying traits in others, and seeing that if they can utilize those traits in the construction business, if not at her company, she's part of the GSMDC, minority supplier, organizations and other organizations, diversity in organizations in Georgia. So if she can't get you a job at her company, she's big at getting jobs, trying to get you an opportunity elsewhere. So I just think that's great at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that is great. Well, Keith, man, it's been a pleasure having you on, man. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, man. Just your perspective, your career journey, your life, man, what you've been able to accomplish, and your why as well. Being able to just essentially, man, at the end of the day, provide for your family, man. And, who can argue with that, right? We want to definitely be those providers. And, yeah, man. And so it's been a super honor to have you on. And yeah, any lasting words that you want to leave with the audience, man, before we jump off?
Keep it short. Just, I know there's a lot of roadblocks financially, sometimes finishing college, a lot of roadblocks, sending out 50, 100. I know, people within my family send out 200 resumes and still not getting a call back. But two things, just never give up is the first thing. But the second thing is and I know this is kind of more targeted toward the youth. Don't send out 200 resumes, 50 resumes. You have to be present. You have to network, join organizations. When you're just building your career, find a niche first, and find a niche. You may not enjoy the niche initially, but get in the door, find a niche, target that company or that person that you want to work for. Try to find a way to even work there for free, even as an adult. I know we got all bills to pay, but sometimes you may have to go back and move in with mom and dad. But find that niche and target 2 or 3 companies that you really want to learn from and get the opportunities from. Don't just send out 200 resumes, because it's just frustrating. Find that niche that you want to get involved in, and you can change that niche later, but just get in the door, get some experience, and increase your skills while you're getting some paychecks coming in, pay some bills, and then, I think you'll be a successful individual no matter what field you're involved in.
Well, yeah, man. Thank you, Keith. Gotta have you back on, brother. It was a pleasure, man. Take care.
Time flew. It was a pleasure.
Yes.
Take care, Paul.
Thanks again, everybody, for tuning into our show. Remember, like, share, subscribe to the podcast, and join the movement as we reach to build a better future that we can all be proud of.